Um, Describe for me the events that led you to prison.
Hmm. When my mom, so we'll go to the beginning. When my mom, I forgot to bring the picture
Of
of
your mom?
no of my mom's wedding when she remarried,
Oh
and
yeah.
then I'm in the photo like cringing because I'm like my mom's remarrying someone that I don't approve of,
Mhm.
right? And so growing up, I never looked to my dad for any kind of lessons, and now. I know that like I was looking to like all the wrong people for the lessons, right? So when I had a lot of freedom in high school and growing up on like movies and in high school and crowds and all that kind of stuff, right? I remember just like wanting to be like a drug dealer, and uh, and what I liked about it was that I didn't look like a typical drug dealer like at school or the ones that we see in like movies and stuff like
Mhm.
that, right? And so like I I was like addicted to this ability to get away with things and not
Um,
be suspected of it, you know?
so like that was actually a goal of yours was to be a drug dealer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And I would like seek out like my own sources from like people that I like felt like were actual like gangsters, right? And yeah, I mean, the first person that I started picking up drugs off of, he's passed away now. But yeah, so dealing drugs in high school, and then I stayed in Winnipeg up until the age of 19 or 20, and then moved out here and lived with my parents for a bit, but I wasn't happy living with them. So then I met a guy named Beckham. He was like the president of the gang that I was in. And I remember reading about him and his brother in the newspapers when I was a teenager, and I was like read these stories about them, and I was just like fantasizing about these two like
Mhm.
they're these two Albanian brothers, and they're just like I hear stories about them, just like how fucking crazy they are, right? And and I remember just like always wanting to like be part of that team, and I was introduced to him out here. He just got out on parole, and yeah, he took me in under his wing, and I ended up like moving in with him, and yeah, he started like, telling me like things to do and just really like grooming me basically, right? And yeah, it was at a time in my life where I was just like I remember being so like easily influenced by others, right? And so acting like him and saying things that he says and trying to like be like him, it's like almost
Mhm.
like mimicking someone else's behavior, right?
Sure.
Because growing up it's just like I wasn't learning anything from my dad, so I'm like trying to like create this own identity for myself, right? And just getting it from all the wrong places. And yeah, there's just like so much shit that like I'm not like proud of from back then, but like that was basically the person who started to show me how to like buy and sell drugs and weapons and yeah. Oh,
Wow.
yeah. But he he was murdered too in 2007, and every year since high school lost a friend, drugs, overdose, murder, suicide, and yeah. So living that life, it had its like at the time it feels like it has its like positives, but by the age of 22 there's a police investigation on me, and this is all on Google, so it's like
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
nothing new. Um, but yeah, there's a police investigation on me and Beckham, and
Were you aware of it at the time?
oh my God. So this is such a trip. So the things that you get to read through your disclosure after you've been charged, right?
Mhm.
You get to see like all the things that led up to the police like pulling you over this one time, or that time when I remember coming home and seeing a car pull out, and then I go into my house and realizing that that was the cops going into my house planting bugs. Yeah, and you start to tie in all of these things, and they actually have to give you written warnings after they've tapped your phone within like a certain amount of days, right? But they were very strategic about it. So back then, I was going by my stepdad's last name, Coffin, and so I didn't have any ID that said Coffin though. So they would send the notice to me, to Andrew Coffin, and it would end up at the post office. But I couldn't collect it from the post office because I didn't have ID that said Coffin. My biological last name is Fredericks, and I go by Fredericks now because you can Google Andrew Coffin Winnipeg and the article just comes up right there. So for reasons for employment, I started to go by my biological last name, and because I knew that like having to get a legit job and change my life was paramount. But I don't really know if I answered your question.
No, I think you did. So you're learning how to become a successful drug dealer. I don't want to say successful as like it's positive, but you're learning the ways of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then how did what events led you to being convicted?
So in January 2008, I got pulled over and had a firearm in the car, and then once I got my charges, I took them to my lawyer, and it was basically you're charged with possession of a firearm, trafficking a firearm, operating a motor vehicle with a firearm, and careless storage of a firearm. And then it says in another section, we could come back and charge you for trafficking coke ×2, money laundering, and a bunch of other charges. And so my lawyer says, there's definitely an investigation going on you, because what they say here is that they could come back and charge you. It means that they're doing some research. And I don't know, have you ever watched The Wire?
The Wire? No, I don't think so.
So there's so many stages that cops have to go through to start gathering their intel and building their case against you. And some of those are just like street stops, information from rats, before they can go to a judge and say, we want to tap his phone. We want to put cameras in their house. We want to put tracking devices in the car. So they have to go through these stages of exhaustion before they can get all that. But they got all that. And Danny Gunn, lawyer, he's like, this is pretty much like $1 million investigation. And I'm not saying that to sound extreme. It costs where that money goes. It's paying the wages of the cops, the overtime. The equipment is expensive as hell, and the experienced technicians that they hire to be able to break into your car when it's outside your house without the alarm going off, and putting a GPS tracking device in it, and going into your house, finding an item just like this, and getting the exact replica, but putting a bug in it and then putting it back in your house.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
expensive.
Exactly, right? So it all adds up. And so then I'm on bail for, oh my God, like a year and a half. And while I was on bail, I got caught in a second project where I sold some drugs to an undercover agent. And so that's how I got pinned in both of them. And then in November 2009, I remember saying to my girlfriend at the time that I gotta turn myself in. Like, I've been on the run for a while, and
so they were trying to hunt you down, and like there was a warrant for your arrest.
Yeah. So there was I'm skipping here. So when I was on bail, I paid surety you have to pay fee to the courts in order to be able to travel. I had a job with a travel agency down in Mexico, and they needed me to go down and work with them. So I went down to Mexico, had to pay a surety, and like a couple days after I left, my door gets kicked in, and they searched my house, and the warrant was for weed. So somebody ratted me out saying that I was selling weed and I had it at my house, but I didn't actually have any weed at my house. And then when I got back, I wasn't allowed to go home because they had a no contact order between my landlord and me. So from that point on, I was basically, I had to like find a home and to live with. So I was staying with one of my buddies, and
in Canada or Mexico?
in Winnipeg.
In Winnipeg.
Yeah, when I came back to Winnipeg, yeah. And so yeah, I was like on the run for a while and hiding out. And yeah, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. The fucking stress, dude. Oh my God. Oh my God. I just remember just thinking so much like wild stuff, like because of all of the lengths that the cops had gone through to get their information before.
Mm-hmm.
Now being on the run, I feel like it's just amplified even more.
And so you're like paranoid, like who's watching me? Am I interacting? Like showing your face around, like all this stuff.
So paranoid. I used to drink a lot. Slipped into like some addictions. But yeah, it got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was really lucky to have an amazing partner at that time. She had nothing to do with like the drug dealing. She had no interest in it, no interest in my money or anything like that. She just saw me and saw like a different side of me, right? It was,
wow.
Yeah, it was like one of my true loves. And I was like, if I want to, have a life with this person who deserves it, I'm going to do something about it. So yeah, I woke her up in the middle of the night, just finished crushing a bunch of rounds of Call of Duty. And then I woke her up and said, hey, it's time. I'm going to go and turn myself in. She has to take sleeping pills because she has restless leg syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So when she woke up in the middle of the night, she was like super loopy, not really sure what's going on. And then, I jump in a cab, crack a beer, and I drink my last beer on the way down to the police station, and turn myself in. And having to wait in a cell for so long, sucked.
Were they surprised? Like, what was the reaction? Like you turn yourself in. I imagine that's not a common experience. Like,
so because they already have me on video with their undercover cop, they were fucking grilling me, wanting to know, where do you live? Where do you live? Because a week and a half later, they execute their project and raid I think like, I'd probably get the number wrong, but you can look up Project Divide. They raided like so many people's homes. And so they wanted to know where I lived so that they could raid my home. Because about a week and a half after I turn myself in and I'm in jail, I get called out and I get called down to, so I'm in Headingley, the provincial jail. And then they call me out and then they drive me down to the remand where they, organized crime unit, where they charge me again for the project that I got caught in.
Wow.
While I was on bail. Yeah. So that's why they wanted to know where I lived.
So they could raid your house.
Yeah. Again. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what kind of led you to thinking of that transition? Like what my life isn't working out like I want.
A guy like me isn't going to be able to go back into that life and like reign supreme. Okay. Like I'm not a big person and my friends always used to try getting me to take steroids and shit. Right. But like,